Hey everyone, welcome to another You vs You Challenge info session. My name is Steve Bonner and I'm an accredited exercise physiologist and personal trainer here at Glen Ira. Today I'm presenting a presentation on the benefits of physical activity and more specifically towards mental health and immune function, two really important factors in this day and age. So we'll begin by looking at the definitions that I'll be talking about. So physical activity, simply any voluntary contraction or any voluntary movement of your body. And then we've got exercise, which is kind of like a part of physical activity. It's actually just structured and planned, intentional movement of your body with the purpose of maintaining and improving physical fitness. When we talk about mental health, of course, we're referring to one's psychological well-being and emotional well-being, I should say. And immune health is, of course, someone's ability to fight off an infection. So, when looking at how exercise affects depression and say, low mood, the evidence shows that physical activity can significantly reduce symptoms of depression and the reoccurrence of it as well. So, we can see as well, the evidence shows that this can be as effective as medication for specifically mild to moderate depressive symptoms. But I really do need to emphasize that this is not a cue to replace any medication that you might be on. Okay, so please ensure that you do follow your GP or psychiatrist's advice in regards to medication. Exercise is not a substitute. So the mechanisms. So what actually, reduces these feelings of depression. So we've got three different factors. We've got psychological, we've got sleep, and we've got biological factors. So let's start off with the psychological. So what happens after you exercise or even during exercise? Well, we can see you get an increase in self-efficacy. So essentially this means you have an increase in confidence in yourself, which is really important at reducing these symptoms. We can see you can get a distraction from negative thoughts that you might be having throughout the day. This is also really good. And then finally, the last psychological difference is that feeling of accomplishment. So this is when we're talking about things like endorphins. So you feel really good and you feel kind of proud of yourself that you've just done something there. We then look at sleep. So we know that sleep is really important in dealing with the symptoms of depression. So we can see that, less sleep can lead to worse feelings. So exercise, what it does is it increases our sleep quality. So we get that deeper, longer sleep that we really need to start recovering. Additionally, we also actually get better sleeping patterns. So what I mean by that is getting in line with our circadian rhythm. So falling asleep at roughly that, 10 o'clock at night, give or take. Of course, everyone's a little bit different. And then waking up at the same time each time. So you start to get in a rhythm rather than, falling asleep at 1 a.m. and getting up out of bed at maybe 10 o'clock with frequent wake-ups, I guess. Lastly, biological changes that happen from exercise. So we can see that you get an increase in serotonin production as well as metabolism. So what I mean by that is whilst you're exercising, your brain releases serotonin. Now serotonin is that hormone that makes you feel happy, essentially. So it's all well and good for your brain to, release these chemicals, but what if it doesn't really even use them? So that's where I talk about metabolism. You have other receptors in your brain that will actually grab onto the serotonin and allow the serotonin to do its work. So you have more serotonin floating around your brain, and now you have more receptors in your brain that are willing to take the serotonin. And the end result is feeling happier. Additionally, you have a reduction in stress hormones. So these stress hormones, let me jump to the side. So you can see there we have cortisol and adrenaline. So these stress hormones will make you feel a little bit more up and alert and can help reduce sleep quality. So with exercise, you get a reduction in this post-exercise, I should mention. Of course, you will have some cortisol in your system during the exercise, and that's completely normal, but post-exercise, you do have a suppressed feeling of that. Moving on to the next slide, and we'll talk a bit more about how exercise deals specifically with anxiety. So, physical activity has been shown to reduce anxiety symptoms. Primarily, this is due to the downplay of sympathetic nervous system. So what I mean by that is a downplay of that system in your body that makes you alert all the time. So you can see I've written there, responsible for your fight or flight response. So you get kind of like a downplay of that, and you won't be feeling alert throughout the day, which is good. However, there is limited research to show or to suggest exactly why these mechanisms occur. So I can't go too deep into that. I guess the main question though is, with both feelings of depression and anxiety, how much exercise do you actually need to start seeing these benefits? So when we go to the next slide, we will see our FIT principles. So FIT principles: frequency, intensity, time, and type. FIT. Frequency. So we want to see at least 3 days a week of consistent physical activity, and that has been shown to reduce those or improve, I should say, mental health. Now, the intensity. The intensity is probably the most important part of this slide, because higher intensities are correlated with better mental health outcomes. I'm not saying go out and run a marathon as fast as you possibly can, but the evidence shows that doing something like a brisk walk will be better than just a slow walk, okay? So you can see underneath I've got aim for a little huff and puff at least. So you want a brisk walk and above that intensity. Time, how long do we need to perform this exercise to start seeing the benefits? Evidence shows that a minimum of 10 minutes, all you need is 10 minutes to start reaping these rewards. 10 minutes, but ideally that sweet spot, 30 to 60 minutes is what you want to aim for in your workout sessions, I guess. But the type, another really important one. You might hear some people saying that weight training is better for you. You might hear some people saying that cardio-based training is better for you. The evidence shows that all types of activity is beneficial. The most important thing to take out of that part is what is most enjoyable for you. So whatever you find is most enjoyable, do that one. Make sure that the intensity is slightly higher. So anything that you enjoy, slightly higher intensity for at least 10 minutes, 3 days a week. Going on to the next slide, we will start to talk a little bit more about the immune system now. So the first thing I have to point out is exercise does not actually prevent you from contracting, diseases or viruses. So really keep that in mind, that we are not actually going to stop you from contracting a virus. The next one, we can see that exercise significantly reduces the severity and the duration of the virus that you're tackling. Why is this a thing? So with exercise, you get a greater activation of white blood cells. Now these white blood cells are of course the cells that go out and kind of go on the hunt for harmful bacteria, harmful viruses, and essentially kill them. What I like to think of is, imagine you've got like a police station and all the police cars, they're just at the station, all the policemen, they're inside the building, and that's that. You're probably going to have a fair bit of crime. What happens when all these cars go out onto the street? We now have heaps more cars. We're probably going to see a reduction in crime. It's the same thing. With exercise, you get more blood cells that are going around the bloodstream to find these infections and get rid of them. Hence, reduce the severity and the duration of the infection. The next part is we slow down these age-related changes to the immune system. So what I mean by that is, I guess as you get older, your immune system tends to decrease in function a little bit. With exercise, we can slow that down. So we still have an adequate amount of white blood cells being produced and moving around your blood system, circulatory system. As well, what we know is that an increase in stress and anxiety and poor sleep can lead to a decrease in immune function. So you can see the slide, or the point underneath. If we know that exercise improves mental well-being, which I've just touched on, it therefore indirectly improves that immune function. So we are functioning better mentally, therefore our immune system will be working a little bit more appropriately. There is conflicting evidence to suggest that some ultra-high intensities is actually quite bad for you or harmful towards your immune system. This is specific to marathon runners, okay? So it's a very small percentage of the population that do consistent marathons. So to put that into perspective, I don't really want you to be too scared about working too hard, because you have to be running marathons to start feeling that effect. It's not too bad. It's just after the exercise bout of the marathon, for a few days following, you might feel, or you might be more susceptible to, sickness. The last part I have to mention, though, is you still need to maintain good hygiene whilst you're out exercising. Whether it be in a gym when gyms do eventually open, or whether it just be out in the park, going for a run, please make sure you maintain that good hygiene, because the first way to stop an infection is to prevent it from getting in your system in the first place. So if we go next, I guess the question again is, how much exercise do we have to do? Well, with this exercise, it's actually highly recommended that you follow the Australian Physical Activity Guidelines for exercise, which suggests that we want 5 days a week of exercise. So if we kind of go back to that mental health, 3+ days will help with that mental health. 5 days is most beneficial for immunity, because that relates to improving cardiovascular fitness as well, which also has a little bit of a role. Intensity, we want to see that moderate to high intensity. So same thing, we want to be going for a walk, but we know that a brisk walk is better. Or we can be doing something like a HIIT class. And of course, Gel, we have plenty of classes for you to perform, which I will kind of elaborate a little bit on towards the end. Time, so how much exercise do we actually have to do throughout the week? At least 150 minutes in total, okay? So we know a minimum of 10 minutes is beneficial, I should say. But that also means that we can perform, say, 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week, or 45 minutes 5 days a week. As long as you're hitting that 150-minute target, that's when you'll be feeling the best effects of immune function. Type, same thing that I mentioned before, any type is great. It's the one that you enjoy. It's the one that you will continue to do. That's the most important thing. Anything that elevates your heart rate, really. So, finishing off, we'll go to that next slide. So, I do thank you for watching us. Just remember, if you want to be a part of this You vs. You challenge, jump on our website and join. Essentially, we're getting you guys to create your own goals, and we're going to give you some tools to help work towards them and achieve these goals in the 6 weeks. Something to, I guess, work towards. Lastly, of course, we have plenty of classes on our Gel Anywhere Facebook page, so the Glenara Leisure, where you can do any home workout that you enjoy, live or pre-recorded. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great day.